Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, welcome to the Geek Smack pre-show. It's gonna be a big show for you. Hi, everybody. Jeffrey Powers here. Welcome to the show, the big show, the great show, the biggest show in the sky. The show is the show in the sky. The show when we've showed the show, and we're here. And we're doing it live. We do it live every single Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So come on here. This is the vlog section. So what does this mean? This means that I'm going to talk for a little bit of extended period. Of course, I'm going to recap it really quick when I finally start to do the show. But this is our little vlog where I get to talk a little bit more and have a little fun. And it's brought to you by our friends over at Dropcam. Of course, get yourself a camera for your studio, for your home, so you're safe. And you know what's going on when you're not at home. You can just call it up on an app and go from there. Go over to tpn.tv/dropcam to find out more. All right, hey, this week is simply the vlog, simply just a catch up week for me because with all the CES videos, I just on Thursday the desktop finally back up. And questionable whether it's going to stay up or not. It's 4.5 years old, and it died 6 months ago, and I got it back up, and it died again before I went to CES. I have no doubt in my mind that there's something that's going on in the background that eventually will kill it again. So, and I don't do desktop support as much as I used to. So it's just like, okay, well, it breaks. It is what it is. Not much I can do about it, and go from there. Let me do this really quick. So, but with the show, I've been doing some different changes, and you're going to see the first of many changes for Geek Smack for 2014, including updated intro. And you'll see that as we go. It's going to be more upbeat, hip, and happening, and have a little bit more fun with that. So I did a little bit of that. Of course, did a lot of video, posted a lot of video up on tpn.tv. You can check it out there. And of course, everybody else is posting their videos as well. So you're going to see tons of video over at tpn.tv. And then, of course, once I get those all up, I will put up a few up on Geekazine and then work from there. It is freaking cold out there. I've got the heat on a little bit higher than normal, so you might hear it during the show. It happens, but it's just trying to keep warm in this Arctic polar vortex, whatever you want to call it, and just kind of relaxing. But I do want to take time to mention the people in the postal service. Because, I would figure they're saying with wind chills, we're going to see about 30 to 40 below today and tonight. And they're still out and they're still delivering the mail. And I give them credit, I can set it up so I don't have to go out. I could go from bed to computer back to bed and not even step foot outside. And they've already delivered my mail. They did it on time. So they must be really cold. So kudos to those guys. I thought you get a day off or something like that. I know that some people don't like the day off because that means that there's more mail the next day to deliver, and that's apparently even harder to do. So, but it's pretty cold out there. So you guys stay warm, and of course, southern states getting snow, lots of cold. And some people are starting to remember the blizzard of 1978. Now, I was 6 years old at that time, and I was looking at some of the pictures, and I kind of remember this blizzard. And it dumped a lot of snow, especially in Indiana, somewhere along the line of 40 inches of snow, I think it was, in one shot. So, it's not our first polar vortex. It won't be our last polar vortex or Snowmageddon or whatever you want to call it, but it's winter, and a lot of people are frustrated about it. But it is what it is. That's how we are, and I've seen some places that get more snow and more cold than we ever could think of. Up in Minnesota, 5 hours away from me, there snow and cold. It's at least 10 to 20 degrees colder there with about 2 times the amount of snow. So you live in a state that has that, and it happens. You live in a state that doesn't normally happen, and all of a sudden you can take out your video camera and make a lot of money on YouTube. Simple as that. So anyway, so stay warm, stay happy, and thanks to all the postal workers, and I'm guessing that UPS and FedEx are out there too. So thank you very much for getting my packages on time, getting my mail on time. I appreciate it much, even if it is a bill. Even if it is a bill. So. All right. Hey, restarted up iPad 365 after all the videos are done is like, I got to start 2014 with iPad 365. Also going to take some changes there. Trying to figure out whether I should make my own YouTube channel or not for iPad 365 or should keep it on Geekazine. Now, here's the thing. With Google Plus, you have your business pages, and in your business pages, you attach a YouTube page to it. Excuse me. With This Week in Google Glass, I gave it its own YouTube page. So now the episodes of This Week in Google Glass, and I'll take the previous episodes and eventually put it onto This Week in Google Glass. But the episodes will all be on This Week in Google Glass. You'll subscribe over there for that show. And hopefully that'll build things up. iPad 365, a little bit different because it's tougher to actually get the names that I really want for iPad 365 because there's squatters out there, like the URL. I mean, I'm not going to pay $4,000 for the URL iPad365.com. I have iPad-365.com. I have iPad365.net. I have iPad365.info. I have an established. I've been doing it for 2 years, so it's established. So if I ever do get the opportunity to get iPad365.com, I'll be able to do that. But I just can't afford that. I got other things to pay for before I buy iPad365.com. Like, for instance, a new computer. I definitely need a new desktop. The laptop, my MacBook is showing its age. It would be nice to actually get the updated, the newest, latest, and greatest MacBook. I could actually hook up 2 cameras to it through black magic boxes, and I'd have a little bit more wiggle room to do my broadcasts and recordings and stuff like that. But that takes money. and of course the planning trips are the bigger problem. And that is in 2 weeks I'm planning to go to Tech Cocktail in Las Vegas. However, I don't have a plane ticket. So I'm hoping that if that your startup, your company that's looking to get some advertising out of it, I just need to get travel. And we can even set up a special package where you're sponsoring my trips, not only to Vegas this next month, but also to South by Southwest the next month and NAB the next month, which is back in Vegas. Now, keep in mind, I go to Vegas not to gamble. Well, I do go to gamble, but I don't gamble in a machine. I gamble using, these videos, doing stuff and getting content back and forth. And we're going to have a lot of fun at in Vegas in 2 weeks. So that's why it's very important. So if you know anybody that is part of this that wants to help out, let me know. Twitter me over at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com. You can choose the contact option and contact me from there. You can also use the Amazon link. You can also use the B&H link and buy some stuff through there. That helps me. The more you buy, the more that I get commissions for. And, that covers bills, and then I can cover these trips because my plan right now is this Tech Cocktail in Vegas, South by Southwest in March. In April, go to NAB in Vegas and get a lot of video there. And then in May is TechCrunch Disrupt New York. Now, for the last couple of years, I've missed TechCrunch Disrupt New York, and I'm really hoping to go. And I'm really hoping that one of these I'll be able to cover myself with just simply my mileage, and which I'm more than happy to do. I just need to make sure that I've got that covered. So, with all that, if you want to help out, simply just Twitter me, Geekazine. Think Magazine, put in a Geekazine, geekazine@gmail.com, and of course the contact page over there. The hotline too, 608-205-4378. Congratulations to Rob Greenlee, new CTO at Podcast One. He kept it very secretive until Monday. He was the Zune manager over at Microsoft. In fact, if you had a podcast, you would talk to Rob and say, "Hey, can you update all my links for me? I should have had him do that before he left, because now I have no idea who's doing it now. Hopefully they'll do something like that. So, and then finally, there is other ways to help out, and one of those ways is to actually be a blogger. Now, I've got a couple people that have shown some interest and want to do some blogging, and I'm going to build up my blogger list. Right now, it's a pro bono situation, but it gets you into blogging, first of all, and second of all, if there's review models of stuff, I'm going to hand them to you to review. And some of those review models, they don't want back. Do I have something here on the desk? I don't have anything on the, things, like last year I got this really nice thumb drive. Now, this isn't the best example, but I got a really nice, this 32 gigabyte thumb drive. I still use this in transferring files. So it's, you get some cool stuff every now and then. And then, of course, I got to get rid of some of the stuff because it becomes a tax liability if I have a $5,000 item sitting in my living room and I'm not using it or anything like that. So you want to do some reviews? We of course, some of the stuff also gets returned. I got a printer sitting out there that's waiting for the return shipping labels, and then I'll send that off. But if you've got a product or if you want to start doing some blogging, even just do some tech blogging, let me know. So, like I said, it's very cold out here, so you notice that I'm wearing a sweater rather than my usual polo shirt. I'm glad I'm wearing it because even inside the house, we've got a nice 67 degrees, but it's a little dry and a little cold. So, you guys stay bundled up, stay warm, just be ready to just be inside, be comfortable, be safe. Simple as that. So if you do have to go outside, wear layers, be out there for brief periods of time. Frostbite can set in really quickly. So if something happens, you got to be outside, be protected. If you got, put a blanket in your car. If you're going anywhere, just grab a blanket from your couch or whatever and put it in the car. That way, at least if you get stranded somewhere, you can bundle up a little bit more. So anyway, enough about that. I think we've got everything from the vlog. Of course, if you have any questions, once again, Geekazine is my Twitter handle, geekazine@gmail.com. All right. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to see the Geek Smack symbol, which last couple times you're going to see that because, the beard's gone. It's time to change it up a little bit. But the Geek Smack live video, and then that's going to go right into the new intro. And it's actually a pretty cool new intro. So I'm really stoked to show it off. So, and it's only the first phase of it. So I'm working on it. So anyway, you're watching Geek Smack. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching Geek Smack, by the way. And if you're ready, then I'm ready. Let's start this show. All right, let's start it.
This is the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, welcome to Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek out of you like Galaxy Glass is being smacked out. We've got a lot of stuff. We're also going to talk about Uber. Very sad situation that happened over the holiday weekend. So let's get it started. Let's get the smack out now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, Jeffrey Powers here. Welcome to Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek out of you like Microsoft is going to smack the geek out of the SkyDrive and call it OneDrive. Is that like the U2 song, OneDrive? Anyway, welcome to the show. If this is the first time that you've come to the show, well, thank you very much for coming to the show. We do this every single Tuesday live over on youtube.com/Geekazine. And of course, we put it up on podcast form a couple hours later, so you can consume it into your podcast catcher. You can consume it into your on your TV or wherever you want to watch or listen to Geekazine. Now, if you've been here the duration, you just experienced the new steps of 2014's version of Geekazine. Of course, every year gotta change it up a little bit, make it cool, make it hip. The music, I was up on Pond 5. Usually I create my own music for podcasts, but I was up on Pond 5 and it's like, this is awesome music. So I just bought it and put it on and just really love it. It's great intro music. It well rounds it up. So I'm really happy about that. So really quick, lots of things that happened. I basically this last week was just me creating video. And of course, that's from all the CES video. I post processed it, I put it up, and now I'm finishing putting it up. I think I got about 15 articles in the live, and then I've got about 10 articles that from the booth interviews I still have to put up. You can check it out on tpn.tv. I will be filtering some of it through geekazine.com, but the main focus is at TPN right now. So this was all a catch-up week. And of course, it's great because it's freezing cold outside. I mean, we're like, I think, what was the temperature? Let's look on my phone. It says the temperature is 4 degrees. Now, 30 minutes ago, it was a -2. And apparently with the wind chill, it brings it down to -20 or 30 or something like that. But I do have to give props out to all the people out there, the mail carriers, the FedEx and the UPS people, because they're out in full force in this blistering cold weather. So thank you for getting me my mail. You could have taken the day off, but I know some of you mail carriers basically say that it's tougher to actually have that day off than just to deliver the mail and do it again the next day. So, good job. I'm really happy for you on that. Of course, we do the vlog absolutely live. I spend 10 minutes talking about all this stuff. You're going to get the short Cliff Note version in this part, basically saying that, iPad 365, we restarted up, did Call of Duty Strike Team on the iPad, was a lot of fun. Check that out over at youtube.com/Geekazine. Twig.tv, or This Week in Google Glass, talked with Luke Wallace. We had a very interesting talk about should a camera be on Google Glass? And that's what we talked about last night. Of course, a bunch of other things here. Programming notes, in a couple weeks, I'm going to Tech Cocktail in Las Vegas. The trip planning schedule is basically Tech Cocktail in Las Vegas, South by Southwest in March, and then NAB in April. And hopefully TechCrunch Disrupt in May, working on all of those. The Tech Cocktail one was kind of a surprise one. I have to figure out travel to get there. So I'm asking you guys, if you know of any company that's willing to help cover my travel, got some sponsorship positions open up that you can be part of. If you want to do the whole gamut of all 4 trips, that's still a possibility as well. Give me a call, message me, or Twitter me over at Geekazine. Think magazine, put in a geek. Boom, you got Geekazine, and go from there. Also going to be bringing some bloggers back onto Geekazine. If you want to blog for Geekazine, the model for 2014 is to get a couple side bloggers for their own sites. If you just don't want to be on Blogger anymore or anything like that, you want to come on to Geekazine and be a part of that, let me know, and we will get that going for you. Finally, congratulations to Mr. Rob Greenlee, who ran the Zune. Basically, if you had a problem with your podcast, he would take care of it over at Zune. He's left Microsoft, and he is now working for a company called Podcast One as their CTO. So congratulations to Rob. Really excited to see what's going to go on there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, let's stop talking about that. Let's get into your tech news for this week. And of course, this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Carbonite.com. Backup now, backup often, backup offsite. Like I said, my desktop died an hour before I left for CES. Now, what did that mean to me? Well, for the most part, I got everything done. So I would have dealt with it as going back. But I was going to keep the computer on and then access some files using some third-party software. Maybe use the desktop if I needed some extra bandwidth. I could do it that way, and do some editing at home, and then go from there. But I couldn't do it because the desktop was dead. There were some files on the desktop that I needed to get to, and I realized that when I did my Day in Tech History stuff. I basically got all the files done for Day in Tech History, and I thought I put them up on the server. And then I figured when I get to Vegas, I'll write the posts. I got a little bit of time before the show, write the posts, and I'm off. Well, apparently 3 or 4 of the audio files did not make it up there, and all those audio files were sitting on here. However, I have backed up on my Carbonite the actual original WAV files. So what I did was I recreated those episodes in Vegas using an audio program, pulled the files from Carbonite using the Carbonite program, logged in, pulled the files down, made the episodes, and went from there. Now, it's a very big deal for Day in Tech History because it's been going every single day since August 10th, 2009. We're on episode 1600. And as far as I know, there's still a world record on that, the longest daily podcast running. So I didn't want to lose that opportunity to say that. And so I had to make that last minute change. And so if it wasn't for Carbonite, I wouldn't have been able to access my files. So check it out. Get yourself a 15-day free trial if you're just a home computer or you've got a home computer. Go over to geekazine.com/carbon free. If you're a business, go over to geekazine.com/carbonite. And of course, that will help me keep the lights on and keep going to some of these shows and get you some cool stuff. That's over at carbonite.com. Remember, geekazine.com/carbon free. All right, let's get into the tech news for the day. And we're going to start over at The Verge. And one of the big pieces of news that actually came out after we had our show this week in Google Glass was that the new versions of Google Glass are coming out, and they're looking a little bit different. Let me show you a picture that's on The Verge. This is what Google is planning frames with the Google Glass. So you'll see this piece, the sky blue, but then the frames will be different. And from what I understand, with the adjustment of a torque screw, you could have 3 or 4 different pairs of frames. Now, $1,500 for the pair of Google Glass, $225 for the frames, $1,725 for a pair of Google Glass. Will you buy it? That's the real question. Not at for me, the answer is not at $1,725. I mean, I did it because 1, I wanted to be an early adopter. 2, I wanted to create a show about Google Glass and really get this information out to you. So, and of course, I wear glasses, and I've worn glasses since I was in 3rd grade. And then about 10 years ago, I made a very conscious effort just to get rid of glasses. I didn't want to wear them anymore. And now here I am wearing a pair of Google glasses and contemplating of taking my contacts out and actually wearing a pair of glasses. Now, first of all, I don't like the idea of the torque screw because it's a small screw that can get lost very easily. I can't switch out the Google Glass from the frames to this if I want to wear contacts, or if I wanted to wear different types of frames. There's people that wear like 3 different pairs of glasses during the day. Some for fashion, some because they just they're doing different things. So I like this idea that they're actually giving us prescriptions, but it doesn't leave for being able to be a little bit more spontaneous. And what happens if your Google Glass dies and you need to charge it? Let's say I need it, like I charged this before the show because I forgot to plug it in last night, and I needed to have some sort of charge so I could at least show you my Google Glass Lite out there. But the whole point is, if I needed to change, whoops, I don't want it to I took a picture. That was weird. Anyway, if I wanted to, if I needed to charge it, do I have to take my pair of glasses off? And then I can't see? That means I have to get another pair of glasses without Google Glass. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm still waiting for my version 2. So maybe they're going to offer me a pair of frames with my version 2. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We went into detail on version 2 because Luke got his pair of version 2 last night on This Week in Google Glass. And the only difference we saw was on the pair of shades that said Glass instead of XE. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Would you get a pair of Google Glass? $1,725 right now. I would guess that it would be $300-$400 when it comes out, but the frames are still going to be a couple $100. So ultimately, you're paying $500 to $700 for a pair of Google Glass if you want prescription lenses, or more, because you get the scratch-proof lenses and everything like that. That's all whatever your optometrist sets you up with. So what do you think? Let me know. Twitter me over at Geekazine. geekazine@gmail.com, or the hotline is 608-205-4378. All right, let's move on from there. SMH.com. Microsoft has changed their SkyDrive to OneDrive. I guess they SkyDrive has only been around for a year or something like that. They announced the new name. Their cloud storage is now called OneDrive. They unveiled the name on Monday, saying OneDrive conveys the mission of the service, which is to let users access their important files from many devices, storing them in one location, which makes sense. OneDrive to rule them all. They could do a whole bunch of Lord of the Ring type tribute things while they're doing that, I suppose. So we'll see what happens there. So they're going to drop SkyDrive as the name of its service last. And I think they had some problems with the word SkyDrive because of Sky Broadcasting Group. Yeah, there it is. They talked about that, which is a trademark in Britain. So changing it to OneDrive kind of makes sense for the company, although it just kind of feels like they're not sure where they're going. Hopefully they've researched OneDrive and there's no company named One that's going to come back and say, no, we've got the trademark on that. You can't use that. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, check out smh.com. All right, moving on. Go over to The Verge. They're reporting. Now, this is from last week. We talked about Charter going bid for Time Warner. Well, apparently that Comcast is in on this action too. So apparently, and I think this is so Charter can actually get Time Warner without getting into any FCC issues. And it was like I'm trying to remember the company that bought another basically if Charter does buy Time Warner, there's going to be some markets that they're going to have to get rid of, or else they'll be considered a monopoly in certain areas. So they'll have to sell off some of their assets to make the FCC happy that happens. So Comcast is on board, and according to Bloomberg, Charter and Comcast are they're not struck the deal. So it's almost there. That would basically take some of the TWC assets to Comcast if the buyout happens. So everybody's happy and everybody's got their hands in the pie, and no antitrust issues are coming up there. So basically, we give Time Warner Cable's New York City, New England, and North Carolina cable assets to Comcast if Charter does make the purchase, if this deal goes through. Hasn't gone through yet. Right now, well, both deals. The deal between Charter and Comcast hasn't gone through yet. Deal between Charter and Time Warner hasn't gone through yet. But if it happens, then everybody makes out and everybody's happy and nobody's coming down and saying, "Hey, you guys, you're monopoly. You're the puppy dog or the hat or the Prius." That's on my Monopoly board. There's a Prius. I don't know. It is. So anyway, if you want to read more on that, go over to theverge.com. We're going to have the link in the show notes. Now, go over to the show notes, because here's the show notes right here. This is what I read from, and this is what you're going to see when it comes up on Geekazine, and it's got all the show notes there. I'm trying a new plugin that Angelo Mandato created. It's called Do More. And basically what that does is it helps me with my SEO ranking. And I'm giving it a try. We're going to see what happens. I will let the guys know if my SEO, because my SEO apparently has been horrible. And I thought, it's all about HTML to text. So that's why I've been creating these one-liners during each link. So you get enough text. It's like 2-to-1 ratio or something like that. So and my show notes have a lot of text in it. That was the idea. So if I can improve my my score a little bit more, you'll see my posts a little bit more. You'll be more active. You'll tell more friends. They'll be happy, and then we'll just get in one big circle and sing Kumbaya. I don't know. Do you want to sing Kumbaya? I really don't. So let's move on from there. Go over to geekazine.com. Subscribe to the show notes. You'll get it in your email anyway, so you won't even need to go to the website, and you'll get all those links right there. All right, let's move on from there. We're going over to IBNLive.com. Galaxy Glass. Samsung is in rumor to do a rival to Glass. Now, I've read reports saying that they're working with glass. I've read reports that saying that they're going on their own direction with glass. So this one says that the Korea Times is citing that unnamed Samsung officials are in the works of creating an internet-connected glasses dubbed Galaxy Glass. The upcoming device would let you play music and receive phone calls. So it might not be what Google Glass is. It might just be a simple connection to what Google Glass is. So interesting stuff. It's all rumor right now. So grain of salt. Here's the grain of salt. Take it. There you go. And if you have any questions, what do you think? If you've got the scoop, you want to give me the scoop, hey, let me know. Twitter me at Geekazine or geekazine@gmail.com. The hotline's still 608-205-4378, but can't wait to see what happens. I saw there were something like 12 to 15 pair of glass alternatives, and I got to see 2 or 3 of them while I was at CES. So it's going to explode. But there's also some cool wearable technology that might explode too. And it's just a question whether you're going to wear a Google Glass, whether you're going to wear another competitor, or whether you're going to wear another piece of wearable technology. So anyway, check that out. We'll have the link in the show notes. Windows 8.1 Update 1. Now, this is also just a little bit of rumor, but hopefully this is true. They've got they're planning with the next update to Windows 8.1. They want mouse and keyboard users to really feel comfortable. And there's a lot of apps that are gearing towards the touchscreen. In fact, I just updated the Acid music creator software by Sony and the Movie Maker software by Sony to version 13. And with version 13, they have an area that's helping editors that have a Surface tablet or a touchscreen edit better. Bigger icons and different ways to work it. They have a simple mode and they have an advanced mode. Simple mode kind of got me for a few minutes because I couldn't resize any windows or anything like that, but I switched over to advanced mode. I was fine. But bottom line is I don't have a touchscreen PC. I've got a regular keyboard and mouse. And in video editing, I think I would, for a while, I definitely would be doing that because I do some video editing on my iPad with iMovie, and I don't like it too much. I'd rather have the mouse and keyboard whenever I get the opportunity. So, the same thing with Windows 8. I don't have a touchscreen. I have keyboard and mouse. And I don't want you to all of a sudden make everything disappear simply because of the fact that you think that everybody's moving to Surface tablets. So 8.1 Update 1 is going to kind of reel things back in. And then, of course, there's rumors more about Windows 9 and the return of the actual start screen menu with the start button. So we'll see what happens there. But, they're getting a lot of flack. We talked about it last week, how HP is going back to Windows 7 because a lot of people understand Windows 7 a little bit more and feel it's a more stable system. So if you want to read more on that, we'll go over to PC World. Like I said, we'll have the link in the show notes. All right. This is a very interesting story, and we've got this link over at CTV News. And it's all about Apple. Now, with Apple, apparently they had an awesome quarter one. They sold a lot of iPads. They sold a lot of iPhones. And they had I think they had some record sales in some cases. But they had some failures too. And that included the 5C debut. A lot of investors didn't like that. And so in the last couple days, things have kind of dropped stock-wise. Now, a lot of people are going, well, why is that? I mean, Apple's killing it right now. But investors don't look at what's happening right now. A good investor looks at what's happening in 6 months to a year to 2 years. And right now, they don't have the confidence that Apple is pushing the technology forward in the right way. Now, I don't know if that's going to change once Apple's watch solution comes out, their wearable technology solution comes out. They just don't see and they don't put stock in Tim Cook and company. they're really concerned. So they're getting out of the stock for now, maybe selling some of their shares, but not all of their shares, to see where it goes, to play the market and do good business. So that I think that's what's happening here. If I read all this correctly, that they're just kind of like, wait a minute, we like that you've got a good quarter one, but this feel good era is gonna eventually end. And with the Mac Pro, this was the big thing. That Mac Pro that came out in December, and then they couldn't fulfill all the orders, so now people are still backlogged to February and March. I know Gear Live's Andrew Edwards, he actually got a Mac Pro from a third-party company because he couldn't wait for Apple to make his Mac Pro. So and he didn't get a knockoff. He got a Mac Pro from another company that I guess bought him early and sold it, and so he bought it. Might have bought it for a little bit more than what it was actually worth, but he's got a Mac Pro now. So I think Apple is for the last 10 years has been spearheading technology and our advancement in technology. And now people are questioning, what's going to happen in 2 years? Is there going to be another iPad or another iPhone or another iPod, which we're going to talk about in a later article about that. But where's Apple going? Is it going to work in 2 years? Is this model going to be sustainable? And so there's start to really get some doubts over this. So it's kind of sad, but that's sometimes you go through the good points and sometimes you go through the bad points. And maybe, like I said, maybe this watch, I still think that Apple is gearing towards healthcare. Just like everybody else, they're going to have a wearable watch that's going to tell you your heart rate, it's going to tell you your blood pressure, it's going to tell you a whole bunch of stuff that you never thought you knew. And it's going to be at the tip of your fingers. And that's going to change a game. If we can stay alive longer, and the perfect commercial would be, what if Steve Jobs had this watch back in 2001? Would he still be alive today? That's a powerful statement right there. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on this. It's business. It pops up, it pops down, it happens. So if you want to read more, like I said, we'll have the link in the show notes, but go over to CTV News for this article. All right. You might have heard about this. Your Angry Birds has been spying on you? What? That's crazy. Apparently, there's been some question about some of these games where they're sending back information, and that information is going back to the NSA to tell them a little bit more about you. Now, whenever you use a smartphone, whenever you use a computer, you got a footprint, and that footprint is out there. Unless you completely encrypt it or find ways to block other people from reading it, they know a little bit about you. That's how Google grew. And there's websites out there that'll tell you your worth to Google, your worth to Facebook, simply because of the fact that you participate on those networks. So there's a lot of information that they can get: age, location, sex, sexual preferences. And this is all in a report from the New York Times and the Guardian. And then, does that mean that we're going to have more than just people like one person, Edward Snowden? We'll have like 3 or 4 people pulling data from that. Everybody's going to pull data from that. I'd like to know, if I put out a game, I'd like to know who's playing it, when they're playing it, how they're playing it. I wouldn't be surprised if one day that they come up with some statistic that say that so many percentage of people play Angry Birds while driving, and you'll go, what? And yeah, they're definitely looking at that. They want to know what you're doing, and if you cause somebody to die, and you're playing Angry Birds because of it or something else, they want to know that stuff. So, and yeah, expect things like your insurance to start going, wait a minute, no, you're more at risk, so we want to turn that off. So I don't know. If you want to read more on that, go over to Fox News. You can tighten that drum all you want. It's still gonna play like a drum. Simple as that. So, all right, let's move on from there. Let's go over to news.au.com. This is very reminiscent to and I have his name in my head. I have his face in my head, and I can't think of it. The hacker from the '90s. I just talked about him on Day in Tech History because he got to use the computer again back in 2000. Um, oh, don't you hate it when that happens? You have the lead in, and you just can't remember everything. So anyway, this reminds me, because there was a story about how he would walk in with other people at the pizza place, and then they'd order the pizza, and he'd kind of hang out in the background and kind of look like he left with them, and then he'd call up the pizza place again and say, "Hey, this pizza wasn't right," and then they'd make him another pizza. He'd walk in, grab the pizza, and go from there. Um, Amazing stuff. But there's a passenger from a China Eastern Airlines that did this something very similar to get free meals. And this is over on news.com.au. He basically would buy a first class ticket, and then he'd use that to get free drinks and free food from the VIP airport lounge. And then, like, a lot of the times he would, I guess, sell the ticket or cancel the ticket when before he'd get any type of penalties attached to it. So he canceled the ticket, and so he got free food for a whole year, over 300 meals for free. And then they finally found it, and they got, wait a minute, this is not right. This is not right. So they checked up on it, and so I guess I don't know if he got in trouble or anything like that. He definitely will not be going through that airline, and if he needs to actually get an air flight, he's pretty much, what it is what it is, I guess. So, and I'm just gonna scan Day in Tech History here really quick for the name. Kevin Mitnick. That's the person I was thinking of. So, Kevin Mitnick. Speaking of which, and speaking of Day in Tech History, today in 1999, Yahoo bought GeoCities. And that's a very interesting situation. Of course, did you know that GeoCities is still around in Japan? Crazy stuff. So anyway, that does it for the first half of Geek Smack, the Tech Smack section. And we're going to get in the Geek Smack section and go from there. And we will do it next. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Uber and the death of a 6-year-old girl from an Uber driver and Uber's responsibility and what they're lacking in the responsibility on that. We're going to talk all about that. Really sad situation. But we've got more tech news coming up. We're going to do that next. You're watching Geek Smack over at Geekazine.com. And of course, this section is brought to you by a brand new sponsor, friends over at Yes Video. Now, we have videos sitting at my folks' house, 8mm videos, some Betamax videos and stuff like that. And the beta's been dead for a few years now. The 8mm, you can run it on the camera that we have in the basement. I don't know if that works anymore. It's been sitting in the basement since then. So there's all these videos that would love to get them into a digital format. The best part about putting them in a digital format is simply the fact that you can share them a lot easier than you can an 8mm video sitting in the basement. And of course, that 8mm video sitting in the basement, that's not, I don't know the temperature of the basement. I don't know if it's dry or if it's wet or if a flood will come in and destroy that video. I want to preserve those videos online. So that's where Yes Video comes in. Basically, they take your home movies, they take your videos, and they put it into a digital realm. You can then access those videos from anywhere. You can create and order custom DVDs, and you can share your moments online. I even thought of taking some of those videos and maybe even making some YouTube videos out of them. Maybe there's some Charlie bit my finger type video that's down in my down in the basement that I could be using. And I just don't see it because it's sitting in the basement. So check it out. Preserve your priceless memories. Watch and share your favorite moments online and create and order custom DVDs so you can watch again and again. All you have to do is go over to geekazine.com/yes. Geekazine.com/yes. Or go over to yesvideo.com, get a 20% off your entire order by simply using the promo code. I think it's PT20. Or I'm sorry, 20TR. 22R. That's what it is. 20TR to preserve your memories. But go over to geekazine.com/yes and preserve all your memories from your films, from your videotapes, which you don't have a VCR. I know I don't. Online. All right, let's move on from there. And where are we? Oh, let's get into the. There we go. We're all loaded up. Let's get into your Geekedia of the week. And of course, the Geekedia of the week, we've got back over at Amazon.com. I found this yesterday. I really want one. It's a magnetic poetry kit. So, you have refrigerator magnetic poetry. My brother's got them on his fridge, and I don't have any on my refrigerator. So I'm thinking to myself, why don't I just do that? Get some magnetic poetry of geek poetry so I can show my geek side on my refrigerator. You get terabytes of poetry, no network connection, 200 geekified magnetic words, and you can just have a lot of fun. Friends have fun. They come over and they can make geek words, even if they don't know the geek words. They can try. So we got the link in the show notes. Go over there. And of course, that does help Geekazine keep the lights on. Thank you very, very much. Let's get into your geek news for the week, or the geek side for this week. Yeah, anyway. Dell is partnering with MakerBot to resell 3D printers and scanners. So February 20th is the magic date. So if you are a small to medium-sized business that's looking to get into some 3D printing, some 3D printers are just like $20,000, $30,000, but you can get some affordable stuff to engineer. And this is perfect for small, medium businesses that make little trinkets, little bits and pieces, because then they can fabricate that in shop and put it all together and put the pieces together and go from there. So Dell is going to be adding the MakerBot 3D printers and scanners to their existing portfolio. And offer an end-to-end 3D design solution. So you can you don't need to have the 3D printer there. You can just be part of, and they'll take care of it all for you. So right now, a 100 micron layer resolution and 410 cubic inch build volume is priced at about $2,199. And their Replicator 2X experimental 3D printer will sell for about $2,799. So if you want to read more on that, we'll have the link over. It's over at the Next Web. Of course, the link will be in the show notes over at geekazine.com. You can go from there and check it out. All right. So you might have heard about Quentin Tarantino. He basically said, it was the follow-up to Django Unchained. It's called The Hateful Eight. And I guess he nixed it. And so Gawker decided, well, we'll just put the whole script up on Gawker and go from there. Now Quentin is really upset. It's already leaked, and it's prompting him to he put the film on hold because it was posted up there. So basically, Tarantino is suing Gawker and their parent company, which I believe, I think it's AOL, isn't it? I can't remember. Gawker. Anyway, Gawker, he's demanding at least $1 million in damages for that. Hollywood Reporter obtained the complaint, saying that it had made a business of predatory journalism. Predatory journalism. It's kind of like I can't think of the word. The paparazzi when they go a little bit too far. The journalism going too far. So they basically crossed the line. Now, Gawker, their parent company is Gizmodo, and Gizmodo is known to cross the line as well. At least last time I remember, Gawker and Gizmodo are owned by the same company here. So, it I don't know. It just, they crossed the line, and maybe it was a promotional stunt. I don't know. There's always that possibility there, but they're $1 million now. Is that going to affect Gawker? Are they going to still put up Quentin Tarantino scripts? They'll probably do that even more nowadays. because as much promotion that they got simply for that one thing. So if you want to check it out, we got the link in the show notes. You can go over there and find out a little bit more about what's going on. All right. Logitech is beefing up their cameras, and I'm really happy about that. Logitech Conference Cam is it's a CC3000E. It's a new video conferencing solution, but the camera I might even use for podcasting, and that's what I'm really excited about. This camera it's on a stick, so it basically can follow people around. It comes with a conference call system. We've got a better picture right here. Let's show that. And with that, you just hook it up to your PC, and you can move around the camera and then have the audio close by. So what I could do is I could literally have that conference call part right down here instead of a big microphone here, and then have the camera there. And if I move around, it'll actually move around the camera for me. So of course it'll be Mac and PC compatible. So and of course it'll be $999. I like the idea of the camera. If it's got some optic focus and optical zoom in there, I'd be really happy. But otherwise, it's just another webcam. It does offer 1080p HD videos and great audio. But I thought they say it's for under $1,000, and then they say $999. I don't, it is what it is. So, but. Pretty cool, and definitely could use that for a lot of different types of things, including conferences, conference calls, and stuff like that. So pretty interesting stuff. It's also all wired, which kind of is. It's needed for the video. I don't know if it's needed as much for the audio. So, but there's a lot of tethering back and forth. So would you buy something like that? Would that be perfect for a conference room, or would you get that for something out of the box, like a podcast or a hangout or something like that? Let me know. Twitter me over at Geekazine, of course, geekazine@gmail.com. And the hotline is 608-205-4378. All right, couple more articles, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what happened with Uber over the holiday weekend and how sad that was. So let's get into this first. We're going to go over to TechCrunch.com. And I talked about Yahoo. Like I said today, Yahoo bought GeoCities back in 1999. Well, Yahoo's always been on this. We'll buy it and we'll try and integrate it, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And so they've done a lot of technology that they could have really shaped into something and just completely threw it to the wayside. Wasted a lot of money for that matter. So is that still happening? That's what we're going to find out. Now, Yahoo has bought a company called Tomfoolery. It's an enterprise app studio, and apparently ex-Yahooers and ex-AOLers are put this whole thing together, this company together. And, of course, Yahoo bought it. I think it was $16 million acquisition here. Yeah, $16 million. And so, and, of course, they're getting some of their employees back to work at Yahoo. The Wall Street Journal also reported the possible acquisition and puts the price at $16 million. So it's not definite that it's $16 million. It's expected to be $16 million. So, and of course, the Tomfoolery app is a mobile enterprise app. And the best part, Yahoo might have just done it to bring people back into Yahoo that they want. Whether they're stay there or not, I don't know. It all depends on the contract. And basically, when somebody does an acquisition like that, terms are put down on the table. If let's say I make a program and Yahoo wants to buy it, part of the terms says that I've got to stay there for a year or two as I let the company put it together. And then after that 2-year contract, we could rewrite a contract, which might also be that they say, well, we don't need you anymore and let go, or I get out of the contract and go do something else, and then they take care of that. So it's all about enterprise solutions for this Tomfoolery app. So you might not even see that if you're not doing enterprise solutions. So, but if you want to read more on that, go over to TechCrunch.com. Moving on from there, we're going over to the Business Insider. The CEO of Bitcoin Exchange was arrested, not the CEO of Bitcoin. Let's clarify that first. It's BitInstant, a Bitcoin exchange. His name is Charlie Shrem, and this is his picture right here. Charlie Shrem was arrested at the JFK airport for money laundering. And he and a co-conspirator basically were accused of selling 1 million in bitcoins to Silk Road users, which they would use to buy drugs and other illicit items. So once again, it's not Bitcoin; it's a Bitcoin exchange. And Bit Instant, I don't think buying into Bit Instant right now is a good idea. I'm just saying. And if you are in Bit Instant, you might want to cover your assets a little bit. Yeah. So are you in Bitcoin? I'm kind of dabbling in it. I met some people that talked about Bitcoin mining and stuff like that. I'm not doing any mining by any means, but I did create a Bitcoin account, and I do have a Bitcoin number if you do want to donate Bitcoin to me, because you can do that. I'll have that link into Geekazine. You can go there and check that out. So, but in the meantime, check this article out. We'll have the link in the show notes. Google's acquiring an artificial intelligence company called DeepMind for about $400 million. It's basically, and then, of course, they confirmed it via email. They said the company isn't providing any additional information. But this is basically, we could probably start seeing Google, I don't know, Google robots maybe? Putting more stuff into your Android, putting more stuff into your Chromebook or even your Google Glass. They want to do more, and so going with this DeepMind sounds like a very decent acquisition. We'll follow it as we go. That they're going from there, and of course, with Google buying companies like Nest to have artificial intelligence inside a Nest to be able to figure out a problem and fix it before it becomes a big problem. That's pretty cool. So anyway, if you want to read more, go over to computerworld.com. Back over to The Verge, last article of the day. The age of the iPad, or the iPod, excuse me, is it over? Now, the iPod came out, technically in 2001. They did the iPod Touch in 2004, I believe, 2005. But now everything that's found in an iPod is pretty much in your iPhone. It's pretty much in your iPad or your Android or whatever other device. So there's a lot of people are saying, is the iPod's days numbered? What do you use an iPod for? Now, I've got uses for an iPod. Like, for instance, as a podcaster, a lot of people are ask me, well, how do I set up my iPhone to do podcasting? And I show them. I say, hey, there's great apps and stuff like that. But then I turn around and I say, if you're really serious about this, you get yourself an iPod and let your iPhone be a phone. And they say, why? And I say, simply put, the iPod will not ring when you're in the middle of an interview. It will not send a text message when you're in the middle of an interview. That could cause even your app to crash. So if you want to put your phone in airplane mode all the time while you're doing interviews, that works. But an iPod will have storage for you. You can get a 32 gigabyte iPod for less than you get an iPhone, and you can have more information in there, and you can do more with the iPod. But it's no different than an iPhone. It's no different than an iPad. So, and an iPad Mini is an easy one to carry around. So maybe this is the end of the iPod era. And it's not that Apple's ditching it or anything like that. It's just a thought piece. And of course, that's brought out by Sean Hollister over at TheVerge.com. But, it's definitely declining in sales. So when is the point where they say, hey, we either need to beef up the iPod or end its life and go from there? Interesting stuff. Good thought piece. And you can check that out over at TheVerge.com. What do you think? Would you still buy an iPod? Do you think that your iPhone's going to do everything? Do you like the camera? Did you get rid of your camera? Did you get rid of all of your devices simply for your smartphone? Let me know. Twitter me over at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com. And the phone number is 608-205-4379. Here's another thing. 6 months ago, I had my iPhone stolen. My iPod would have been in the back seat in my backpack. I probably still would have had it. So that's another thought right there. So Anyway, that does it for this part. Hey, we're going to talk about Uber. Very sad situation happening that happened over the holiday weekend in San Francisco. Who's responsible for somebody when they're working but they're only contracted? And of course, so with Uber and the death that happened with the UberX driver, we're going to talk about all that. We're going to do that next. You are watching Geek Smack over on Geekazine.com. It's more than just 750 channels that the Roku can offer that gives you all that content. Each channel can have sub-channels in it, so you can have tens of thousands of hours of video watching and game playing out of your Roku. And prices only start at $49.99. Of course, the Roku 3 for $99.99, and of course you can get the games, you get the game remote as well, and then the privacy mode where you can plug in your headphones right in the remote. That's perfect for when your partner is sleeping, but you want to watch something on TV. Lots of great stuff from Angry Birds to Amazon to Hulu, and of course the Tech Podcast channel. Let me show you this really quick. This is how you get to some of the content from Geekazine on the Tech Podcast channel. You just go into the Tech Podcast video, and you're going to go into Tech News, and you're going to find like the special events, iPad 365, Geek Smack, and a whole bunch more. A lot of other tech podcast shows right on that Roku for you, right at your fingertips, right through the remote. And then, of course, you can get your Netflix, you can get your Amazon, you can get your Hulu just as easy, and many more channels. PBS, we've got Redbox Instant, TV Guide, Sci-Fi Channel, and much more. Check it out. It's all over at Roku. Remember, geekazine.com/Roku. Of course, that helps me keep the lights on for all my shows. Thank you very much. And go over where streaming is made simple. Uber is a private shuttle service which has received a lot of criticism for working like a taxi service. The UberX program is where you can call up a car straight from your smartphone and then arrange a destination and fare all before you even get in the car. I use it a lot when I'm in an Uber area because it's actually easier to get than a cab. However, over the holidays, Uber had its small problems. An UberX driver, Saeed Muzaffar, struck a mother, son, and daughter in a crosswalk while waiting for a fare. They actually killed 6-year-old Sophia Liu. Now, Uber initially stated that the driver was not part of Uber, and then they recanted the statement and said that the driver was not working for Uber at the time of the accident. The reality is this. Muzaffar was out on the streets as getting UberX fares, waiting for the fare to come to Uber when he struck the family. Since he didn't have a fare in his car, Uber is opposing the fact that he was working for the company at that time. Uber made the statement that only their black car service drivers are real employees of Uber. Everyone else is just a contractor, which basically puts the liability on them. A small caveat in their work model to save the company from full-time employment models. On the other hand, the way that it was pieced together was that the mother and the 2 children were on the curb of the crosswalk in the Tenderloins district of San Francisco. That meant that the driver had to have clipped the curb or taken the curb a little bit too wildly to cause the accident. That's reckless driving. Still, the driver was out in the name of Uber. San Francisco lawyer Chris Dolan has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Uber. He's challenging the fact that Muzaffar should have been considered an active contractor even if he didn't have a fare in the car. It's a responsibility of all drivers, cab or non-cab, to follow those rules of the road. There's way too many times where I see rules broken that can put people's lives in danger simply to save a couple seconds in your driving routine. When a tragic incident happens, everyone should take responsibility. If Muzaffar was driving a taxi, the cab company would have taken liability. Instead, Uber reacted by firing the driver. Well, not that he could have driven any time soon because he's sitting in jail because he just got manslaughter. Isn't it Uber's responsibility to make sure that their drivers are following those rules of the road? Are they planning to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Sit the other Uber drivers down and say, hey, you can't drive this recklessly so we can prevent another 60-year-old from getting hit or killed? It really goes to say that if you hire someone, you are responsible for their actions while that person is working for you, and take responsibility if they do something that is dangerous. If Muzaffar was logged into the system and set to receive a fare, then he was employed by Uber. Simple as that. It's also sad that Uber would leave him out in the cold like that. Imagine how you would feel if you just accidentally killed a 6-year-old girl trying to get a fare. What are your thoughts on that? I love Uber. I mean, it's a great service. Like I said, it's easier to get an Uber than it is to get a taxi sometimes. So, and of course, sometimes you just want to pull up somewhere, not in a cab, but in a nice looking vehicle. It's tough because Uber's a big part of San Francisco, and I know there's a lot of cab companies out there that are opposing Uber. They don't want Uber in their towns. They fight for it. Las Vegas, I talked with the cab driver about that, and he said, yeah, Uber tries to get in, but we're fighting the good fight. Is that a fight that needs to happen? I don't know. Lots of different things, and lots of a lot of these contractors are giving up a lot of personal liability for stuff like that. Just kind of sad. And especially, I'm a contractor for the most part, so I know that somebody could turn around. Of course, my contracts, I'm not out on the road, and I can't clip a curb or something like that. But somebody has got to be held responsible here, and I think part of it's on Uber. So anyway, let me know what you think. Twitter me over at Geekazine, geekazine@gmail.com. 608-205-4378 is the hotline. Excuse me. That does it for this episode of Geek Smack. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know. If there's an article that you want me to read, if there's something that you want me to talk about, let me know by Twittering me and emailing me, and we'll add it to the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, thank you very much for coming to Geek Smack. We will do this again next Tuesday. A little programming note. And yes, next Tuesday, the week after, hopefully I will be in Vegas. If you do want to help out with that, I'd appreciate it much. So until next week, you guys geek out, stay warm, and we'll see you next time. Take care.